Hii Kenya tayari imechelewa. Mnataka tuendelee kuchelewesha hii nchi? Si tutembeze hii Kenya itembee ikitembea. Ama mnasemaje? Kenya itembee isitembee? Tusukume maendeleo. Sikia. Universal health coverage sio mimi imekuwa kwa manifesto ya chama mingi, lakini hakuna mtu ya kuimplement kwa sababu ni ngumu. Housing imekuwa kwa manifesto ya chama mingi, lakini haijakuwa implemented kwa sababu ni ngumu. Mimi nimeamua hii ngumu yote hii, wacha mimi nifanye. Wacha nifanye. Tafadhali munisamee kama nimewakosea.
The hashtag is Newsgang. Linus, some would say there's nothing wrong with this. I mean, the president is free to meet who he wants to meet. He can meet different interest groups from different regions, of all backgrounds, of all walks of life.
I see a president that is conflicted between facing the future and facing the past. He is looking at both directions and trying to persuade the country that heading either way is okay. For 20 years, State House grounds have had a break from this kind of political activity. I'm talking about the 10 years of President Uhuru Kenyatta and the 10 years of Mwai Kibaki. And to me, it speaks of the foundations of the political career of President William Ruto. Let's remember he cut his political teeth in the Youth for KANU 92. And that is when the group of youthful Kenyans were campaigning for the then President Daniel Arap Moi for the first multi-party election. And there are two presidents before William Ruto who are experts of delegation politics. The first one was Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, who really used State House the entire time. For about 14 years he was in office as the platform of his political activities. In the old days, in the Kenyatta days, State House was a very festive place. It was basically nearly every night, whether it's State House Nairobi, actually mostly it was State House Mombasa and State House Nakuru, where evenings were about hosting even dance troops. Yeah. And you'll sit there in a bulletproof cubicle, as narrated by our senior Lee Njiru, who was the presidential press service head, that he'll sit there for hours and just watch these dances. Kenyatta started the tradition of State House delegations. The excuse and reason, and even as Lee Njiru would narrate, is age. Kenyatta was old. He was in his 80s at the time he became president. So mobility was a big problem. In fact, it is said that he had gout, so his walking was not good. So he'll be the one seated at home in State House hosting these delegations, including entertainment troops. And you know, when you look at delegation politics of delegations, they're very interesting. You know, it's a whole space that is contested. People fight to be in State House or to be the one controlling who goes there. Because State House is a prestigious address. And you will see, even in homes in rural areas, that the one time a person went to State House, there'll be a photograph. And it's high up the wall.
Yeah.
Very displayed. That is the day we went to State House. President Ruto knows that there's still a sizable chunk of the Kenyan population that would be taken in by, this is a prestigious address, it's a good place to be, I want to be there, I want to take photos. And that's why you've seen him attracting quite a lot of crowds in State House. Then comes President Moi, who also perfects politics of delegations, meeting different groups. And politics of delegations were used exactly the same way President Ruto is using politics of delegations today. When he hosted the Muranga delegation, were there about 5,000, 6,000?
6,000.
And there was supposed to be another delegation somewhere that was the counter delegation that is not attending. Because this is the politics of optics. What do you want to show? Who is controlling the numbers? And then, of course, you would see with the Muranga numbers that the politics being played are the politics of President Ruto versus his former deputy, Rigathi Gachagua. You are sending a message and all that. So we've seen that, a president that really is looking at the past for political tactics. But we've also seen a bit of the future, what he's trying to do, the American style ramp, where photography is very, very deliberate. Make sure that when you take the photograph, at the background will be a big crowd. This is really borrowed from the American political platforms, where you create a platform and make sure that the photography also delivers a message. This is what we are seeing. It's a game of optics in there. But what is the totality of this? The totality of this is President William Ruto has merely shifted his campaigns from the sunroof to the platform and ramp at State House. What we are seeing is the permanent campaign mode that the president has been. He's really never stopped campaigning. And it's interesting, and I think this is not just him, but the rest of the politicians. They would stand there and say, campaign's bado. We have not started campaigning. But this is the campaign. There's absolutely nothing else that they're doing. They are already campaigning. Why is this? It's hard to explain why in between elections politicians conduct themselves this way. But I have one theory. It's the perfect hiding ground. If you want to avoid pressure, go on the campaign trail. And you can see, I've seen the president, for example, all this week, the past 1 week, talking about the opposition, wanasema. And honestly, the opposition has not been, they have not been, where walisemea wapi? Where are they? Yeah, I'm asking you, Yvonne.
Well, there was one who has been speaking about that quite a bit. Is this also the pressure, you know, and we'll get to Rigathi Gachagua and look for these opposition members. Is it also, I mean, we know in this country campaigns usually start way too early, but this is rather exceptional. I mean, the campaign for 2027 started barely halfway into this current administration. Gen Z protests, where the president has felt like his back is to the ropes, where he's almost had to somewhat seek a fresh mandate from the people after a protest that is so crippling, Linus, that you know, it questions the very foundations of, and is facing, that's an unprecedented challenge that no president before him has had to face. And now suddenly he finds himself having to literally fight for his very political life and legacy midway, even before that, into his current administration.
To the contrary, actually the Gen Z protests interrupted the campaigns. And I want to remind us of what Sundays used to look like before June 24, 2024. 2024.
Yeah.
Remember the Sunday prayer thing, prayer rallies, where posters will be released, that this Sunday there'll be a prayer, including in my home region of Kilgoris, and then they'll set up in a field.
And then money would be given to churches, much like the promises.
Yes. Every Sunday used to be a campaign. It used to look exactly like what we are seeing now in the State House. So the sad reality in this country is campaigns actually don't start. They don't end. That is what we experience. From one election to another, they don't stop. And look, give it to President William Ruto. He's been a great proponent of these non-stop campaigns. in the between 2013 and 2022, when did he take a break? To the point, at some point, Tanga, yeah. and President Uhuru Kenyatta was complaining, although subtly, because the current president ran a permanent campaign for 2022, because he wanted to keep his base focused on his time as candidate, as presidential candidate. Now he's in office, and you know what this is about? Or you said it. Yeah. It's just about the second term. This is what all these State House delegations are about. Because if you want to brief about houses in Kisii, there are many ways of doing it. Do you have to host a delegation to...
Surely even a press statement.
Even a press statement.
That are these days even shared on WhatsApp.
And some work for once for the Cabinet Secretary for Housing. Yeah. They can also go and explain that.
Yeah. Well, but we all know who's fighting for his political career. We want to talk about the response and what's happening on the other side. Where are they? What are they doing? Like you said, Linus, the campaigns never really end, do they? And indeed, it did not. Listen to former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua formally announcing his bid not too long ago.
The US for 6 weeks, I came back. Kenyans told me, looking around, we need change in this country. We need change through the ballot. We need a new leader for this country. And looking around and analyzing the situation, tukiangalia, wewe ndio uko na nguvu ya kutoa hii jamaa aende nyumbani. So I accepted the request of the people of Kenya to run for the presidency in 2027, and I came yesterday home to ask for your blessings. Mumenibariki. Yeah.
And indeed, one of his key pillars is going up, obviously, against the man he worked for and ran with in 2022. Let's listen to him promising to roll back Ruto's programs. 4-4.
Rigathi Gachagua will restore the dignity of the payslip by scrapping the first day the housing levy and handing over all those houses to the county governments to manage them, collect rent, and pay back all those whose money was deducted. Rigathi Gachagua will make sure there are no abductions and extrajudicial killings. He will rescind the order by Murkomen of shoot to kill. Rigathi Gachagua will also rescind the order by William Ruto that people should be shot on the leg. Those are the few things we want to do.
Indeed, the political season is well and truly with us. And you saw, actually, that was what the president was referring to, that man wants to roll back my campaigns and my pledges and my plans and my programs. But, you know, here we are. So on one end, you've got the president in State House, and you've got all of these formations, and starting with former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, who, never mind, Jay, has this thing hanging over his head called an impeachment, and we all know what that means. Yeah.
Yvonne, presidency is the ultimate prize in politics. Even if you know very well you are not able to make it, but you keep your eyes focused that and hoping that one day you will be. Knowing that very well, what I think Rigathi Gachagua is doing is trying to solidify his base. Because what business would people have rallying behind him if he's not going for the ultimate prize? So the announcement that he wants to be the president and is ready and would roll back some of the things that William Ruto has done, for me would be a call to his base and just keep the stakes within, because there's this, I don't know whether it's United Opposition or the One Kenya Opposition. Every other week they fashion themselves differently. So he needs to up the stakes so that when the gentleman and probably a lady or two finally sit, everybody is there on equal terms and comes with the numbers. Because remember, there's also Justin Muturi, who is in that formation and from Mount Kenya region. There's also the little matter of Moses Kuria that is also threatening to destabilize the base. So because JB and Moses Kuria are yet to announce their presidential ambitions, he goes first to solidify his base. And this, again, could be something that he's yielding to pressure from his loyalists. Because you realize in politics, once you become a leader of a group of people, there are those ones that will want to die by you and swear by your name. And if you don't have something tangible to dangle, like the presidency and I'm going for it, then they will crumble.
Yeah.
So there could be also that factor that there are some loyalists within his base that are telling him that this is the time to say it. This is the time for William Ruto to know you are going for his neck, and the other gentlemen to know that you are serious, so that they stop dangling this impeachment thing and telling you when we sit on the table that, remember, you have a few matters in court that you need to address. So Rigathi Gachagua either solidifying his base or yielding to pressure from the loyalists in his base. Otherwise, if you look at it, and LK would confirm, I don't think he stands a chance going for the presidency and being in the boss.
So what you're saying is chocha.
Chocha, yeah.
Yes.
Because there has to be something. Yeah, watu wanaangalia nini? Yeah, umesema wataka kuwa rais. I mean, you're going for the highest office in the land. Wewe ni mtu serious. So, na una test the ground kuona kukoje. But Yvonne, I think also for most of these political parties and these politicians, they are looking, okay, of course, it's 2027, but now there's these by-elections which are right here in November. And then, of course, we're already seeing this thing of katika eneo hili tunawachia chama fulani. We saw DP Party, Democratic Party, Justin Muturi, kule Mbeere, DCP, Gachagua amesema tumewachia. We don't know what the backstory was to that, but that's the guy who they're fronting. In Malava, the real DAPK candidate, please stand up. Tumeona already today there are issues. We saw Seth Panyako being given the ticket. And there's a gentleman there ambaye amesimama. He was in a press conference. He was unable to speak. It was a story we saw. And there was already issues there. The press conference was sambaratishwa, just like that. So already tunaona siasa zimeingia haya. Because Yvonne, when you looking at the by-elections, try and see ni nani atakuwa mbabe zaidi. Actually, hii ni kama tries X for these political parties for the elections in 2027. Who will win in Mbeere? If it's DP that wins over UDA, that tells you something. In Malaba, if the DAPK candidate maybe beats the Ford Kenya one or something like that with the UDA candidate, then it tells you something that kwa ground, pengine mambo yameanza kwa hivi, so once you strategize what are you going to do before 2027. But Yvonne, this whole thing makes me think again. We talked about the fickleness of our political parties time and time again. Because some of these parties that are being fronted now were not there 2 years ago or 3 years ago. Or just 2022 elections, hazikuwepo. Even UDA is how many years old? And what do these parties stand for? Because when you say mimi ni mwanachama damu wa DAPK or DCP or UDA, what are the ideals and the ideologies of that party? If you compare it with parties that were started in 1828, like Democratic Party in the US, which those who support it understand they're liberal, progressive, or the Republicans, 1854, who are conservative and right-leaning, or the UK, when you go to the Tories, the Labour Party, or the Conservatives, there is something they stand for. So, many chama damu wa chama fulani, you know why you support that party. But for us here, what we always say, multi-purpose vehicle for elections, hatuna uhakika. In fact, right now, hatuna uhakika kabisa ni vyama vipi vitakuwa katika uchaguzi wa 2027 because of that whole thing of tunaunda chama so that I have something to bring to the table. Mimi ni mwenyekiti wa chama fulani, ninawania urais, so that you can get what you're talking about, relevance fulani.
Exactly.
But where does it take us? I mean, history should show us what these parties actually mean or what they don't mean. Because ni chama cha briefcase. Kuna watu hapa wameregister vyama vingi viko mfukoni wanasubiri tu time ya kuunleash.
In fact, that's probably the business to do right now. Go register a political party. Somebody's going to need it. And those who are now jumping into the fray for the presidential race, never mind that it is 2 years away. Former CJ Maraga, Okoitio Mtata, former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, Dr. Fred Matiang'i, and just today as well, Jimmy Wanjigi announcing his interest in the top seat as well.
Mwaka huu ambao tumeingia ni 2.3 trillion watalipa kwa hiyo madeni bandia. Sisi tukiingia namna hii, serikali ya Safina, hatutalipa hiyo deni.
So, there's many in the fray, Sam. Yet you would imagine in this country the election is 6 months from now.
I don't know if we're supposed to apply our minds on some of these declarations. Because when you say that you're not going to pay the odious debt or the unexplained debt, so what exactly does that mean? Because as of the latest count, the debt, the public debt is about 11.7 trillion shillings as of June 2025. That may have risen to about 12 trillion shillings now. We have had a lot of attempts to audit the debt. Remember there was shortly after the Gen Z protests, there's a team of prominent Kenyans that was constituted to audit the debt. But then matters were taken to court and people are asking, we have an independent office called the Office of the Auditor General who is supposed to audit the public debt. Why are you bypassing them to bring on board someone else to do the auditing? So if President Jimmy Wanjigi would say they are not going to pay the odious debt, so how do you determine what is odious? Because we keep being told that the register of debt is not clear. Then you wonder, how do you end up with 12 trillion shillings? Because Central Bank of Kenya is very clear on where we are. The control of budget is very clear on where we are. Sometimes the Auditor General will give you figures, the National Treasury will give you figures. So that's interesting to hear. But I think also it's a good opportunity for Kenyans to give those that want to lead them, whether it's the position of Member of Parliament, Governor, MCA, or even Presidency, to come forward and say what they exactly want to do for Kenya. Because that has also been missing to a great extent. We've heard of others declaring they want to be president. Former Chief Justice David Maraga, former Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i. Now we have Rigathi Gachagua. We have also had mentions from Kalonzo Musyoka insinuating that he would want to run for the presidency. So we'll wait to see what exactly is the vision, what is the agenda that they're going to declare. But there's also been an insistence by President William Ruto saying that let them come and tell us what solution they have, because he himself, with Kenya Kwanza administration, he's already building houses and creating jobs. Never mind, we cannot agree on how many they are. So he wants to hear, nyinyi mutafanya aje? So Rigathi Gachagua started. He's saying that he's going to go back on the affordable housing levy. He'll hand over the units to the counties to manage and give rent, but also to reimburse Kenyans that have contributed. I'm just wondering, how would you do that? Because that would be a very happy day for taxpayers. But for now, I think we continue to listen to them, hear what they have to say. It's up to Kenyans to make the decision.
Yeah, and maybe not to apply yourself too much just yet. It's early days. Wakutangulia sio kufika. Linus, you get the final say on this one.
I think if we look at how we've approached elections since 2002 coming this way, then 2 years is still a very long time to make any conclusions, including on whether what Sam here is calling an insinuation rather, of running for president. It's quite early. Our politics tend to take shape 9 months to the election, and it's the usual thing. I don't want to try and predict what 2027 will look like, because there are new factors at play, definitely. But the old playbook is still on the shelf, and that's what you've seen Gachagua doing, which is to give his supporters something to rally around. That in the absence of anything else, I'll be president. Yeah. So the same thing to Matiang'i, he declared, and remember what he did was to go to Kisii. That is also rallying that base. Maraga declared, but where did he go?
Yumo.
Yeah. He's around. And Boniface Mwangi declared as well.
That's right, yeah.
And he's been hanging out with people he's worked with, like former CJ Willie Mutunga and all that. So these are the initial stages. And when you look at the structure of our politics, it's not easy to be in the opposition. And I think they know it. That currently, the one person that enjoys the monopoly of firepower has constructed a ramp in State House. He's hosting delegations every day. If you try to host a delegation as an opposition leader, and you are not Moses Mudamba Mudavadi, the only minister who could host delegations during the Moi era, then you're going to fill it. You can also see, I mean, there used to be delegations to Wamunyoro immediately after Gachagua was impeached. That has gone down because this is Kenyan politics. Hosting delegations is an expensive affair. It's very expensive. And I dare say nobody hosts delegations using their own hard-earned cash. So for those who are attending State House, you know, you can...
You're forgetting a very important address.
Yes.
Irunduni.
Oh yes, it's a new one.
In Tharaka-Nithi.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, delegations.
Increasingly, it's also hosting. Do you want to tell us that it's from someone's payslip?
I don't know how that happens. I've not been there.
That's a good way to end this one.
Yeah, I think we finished. I'm not sure. I think today, boss.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. What are you kwa hii table, please?
It's been a while since you called me boss.